Cannibalism does still exist on planet Earth. I assure you, I don't have to assure you, you know that. But a lot of these people coming in are not quite the same as the people, your neighbor. And the moment they get hungry, they're coming into your house. I had bought an iPad that was on a website that did nothing but watch the flows at Nord Stream. And so you could see minute by minute, it would update the flows, right? Because I expected, if my paradigm was right, that natural gas would be interrupted, because I think they're trying to put us in famine, right? And so we're in the plant at BASF in Ludwigshafen, Germany. I said to the man that was giving us a tour, what happens if Nord Stream gets interrupted? He said, BASF is dead. Well, it's not dead, because shortly after that, months later, it was bubbling to the surface of the sea, right? And how did I get that right? Why was I publishing in advance something may happen to Nord Stream? And then it happened. Everybody's like, how'd you get that right? Did you have something to do with it? Nope. That's what I think was going to happen.
Is that article out there?
No, I would just put it like on Twitter and that sort of thing.
So we can find it on Twitter?
Oh, yeah. You can find it on interviews that I did. Why was I even at BASF? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
You know, because that's where the Haber-Bosch press. Okay, so now last March I was in Netherlands again. They had elections, and then I went to Groningen gas fields. That's the biggest gas field in Europe, is in Netherlands. And I was publishing last March, April, and so I think they're going to close Groningen gas field. And people are like, you're crazy. They're not going to close that. They closed it. It's now closed. Why did I get it right? Not by going through every little fact and trying to figure out if he's right, she's right. Skip past all that nonsense. You'll get confused. It's confusing. What does the paradigm predict? That they're trying to put us into famine. If I'm trying to put us into famine, I'm going to start turning off all those natural gas switches. I'm going to reduce the nitrogenous fertilizers. Now, going into famine, there's many things that can cause famine, that can lead to famine. There's different types of famine. For instance, interestingly, I found in a 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica, people can find this. It's a 1910, 1911, I think, is that edition. I found it in a friend's home in Texas. And I went right to F for famine. I wanted to see what they were saying about it. This is before Haber-Bosch process was we're talking 1911. Remember, 1914 is when that actually started. And this article is very well written, but it goes and it talks about, well, the big famines are probably over. There probably won't be any more big ones now because we have faster ships, bigger ships, these sorts of things, bigger trains, faster trains. But what they were wrong about was how evil man can be. Because the biggest famines have been man-made, like by Stalin and the Holodomor, like by Mao, by so many of these famines. The 1845 to 1854 famine in Ireland was not all about the fungus and the black potatoes, right? A lot of it was caused by the English cutting them off. Oftentimes when you get into famine, all these other conditions happen, and then your enemy exploits cuts off your ports.
So with the famine that's coming, what do you advise people do to get ready for it? Well, one thing's for sure, it's not going to be easy, and especially if you live in a major city. One Dutch man that survived the Hungerwinter, that was the Hunger Winter of 1944-45, he said, it doesn't matter if you have a rifle, because they're going to come at you with 10, 20 men with rifles, right? You're not going to defend your food with a rifle. It's just not going to happen. You're going to have to be prepared in some ways. One of the things you'll find in famines is people hide food. Actually, the KGB seems to have been a derivative of actually Stalin looking for people hiding food, believe it or not, in Ukraine, in the Holodomor. It's interesting because people found so many clever ways to hide food. They would have a garden that really doesn't produce much, but underneath it, that's how they cover up the burying, or the digging and that sort of thing. But and actually, the bottom line is everybody is going to have a different solution. I mean, if you live in Manhattan, I think you're crazy. I mean, because straight up. I mean, what are you going to do in Manhattan when everybody's hungry? I mean, people go to cannibalism within 2 weeks, easy. Not everybody. Some people starve to death and never do it, but others go straight to it instantly. and a lot of these people coming in, by the way, through the Darien Gap. I mean, these are people that come from places where they still do. By the way, cannibalism does still exist on planet Earth. I assure you, I don't have to assure you, you know that. But a lot of these people coming in are not quite the same as the people, your neighbor. And the moment they get hungry, they're coming into your house, right? Or the moment almost anybody gets hungry, they're going to be coming into your house.
Yeah, once desperation hits.
Everybody's going to have their own solution, but it's going to have to be community based. You know, I mean, one of the things one retired military man told me down in Texas, he started to arrange his community around his church. He went to church and he started taking an inventory of everybody's skills, like, you know, what do you know how to do roofs, you know how to do plumbing, you know how to do electrical, whatever, right? So that way everybody knows who knows how to do what, and pulling them together as a community, working with radios, figuring out how to keep communication with each other and that sort of thing. All the stuff that would take to make a small community, right? And one older woman, she's a widow. She's like, I don't have any skills. I just raise my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren. He's like, yeah, well, if you raise that many generations of kids, you got a lot of skills. And he's like, no, just tell me how did you raise them? She's like, well, I canned food. And he's like, well, that's it. All right, you're in charge of canning operations. You know, so what I want you to do is tell me what you need, tell me everything you need, and then I'll get it. I'll make it appear, and you start teaching the young people how to can.
So set up a community.
That's right. And just like everybody has some, if their heart's in the right place, they have a job, right? But then it takes the leaders, obviously, to pull them together and get everybody, you know, working in their right ways and that sort of thing. But you're not going to make it through without a community, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to be able to defend yourself, obviously. But we have a predatory government. Another thing that I've noticed in famines, and this is important, is the governments always go after the farmers. And every famine I've read about, they always blame the farmers too. They always say, "Oh, it's the farmers. You know, it's the Amish people's fault for something." You know what I mean? It's whoever's fault. They're the ones gouging you for prices or whatever, right? And then they come and then they take over those facilities, and nobody knows how to farm like the farm. That's one of the things I wanted to say. Finish what I was thinking about the Dutch. A lot of those farmers who have been farming or fishing that land or water for so many years, they know exactly when to plant. Like, you know, well, when the last snow melts in that little crease over there, that's when we plant. You know, it's very local knowledge. And that's one of the ways they get such high production from the land. First of all, it's partly scientific, you know, increased, you know, scientific methods, but they know their patch of turf very well. You know, when the crickets come out, it's time to do X. You know what I mean? It's but if you take them away from that land, they're not going to be as good a farmer if you put them in Kansas. They're still going to be a good farmer, I'm sure, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
They got to fight their own terrain.
So, for the people that are listening that we've just scared the hell out of with the famine, best thing is for them to build community.
Build community, definitely. And you need a way to defend yourself. And again, I mean, if you live in a city, I don't know what advice to give you other than get out.
Yeah.
I mean, would that cause the cities to empty out? I mean, look what's happened. Look who's moving into New York. People that don't speak English, they don't even know how to flush a toilet. I assure you, you know, I spend most of my life in these other countries, and some fish don't mix well in the same aquarium. There's cultures that just don't go well together, right?
Yeah.
Bottom line, you know, you put some sort of fish with the goldfish, bye-bye goldfish.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what's going to happen.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.